He stood outside the bunker door. 12 inches of heavy iron. Nothing was getting past. He would give it a minute. Most of him didn't want to take the chance, but if the pearly gates of heaven were real, he knew he could use that to persuade whatever angel might be there on a rather checkered CV. She came over the grassy bank under the orange sky, running, as he knew they would be. "Please," she cried. She could talk. That was a good sign. She looked in her early 20s, in a summer dress, on a walk by the nearby lake maybe, when she'd received the news. "You alone?" he asked, pulling out the pistol from the back of his blue Levi jeans. She put her hands up. "Just me." Sure, she was beautiful, but he barely cared. The thought, not the worst person in the world to be shacked up with during the end of times, briefly did cross his mind. "Get in," he said, gesturing his gun behind him to the door. "Thank you," she said, passing him. He looked. Silence. Just the grassy knoll, the lake, and the orange sky. He took one last breath of the air, meditating on the wind on his cheek. The last he was going to feel for some time. He turned, headed to the iron door, and prepared to heave it shut.
"Wait,"
he sighed.
"Wait for me."
He looked back. A big black silhouette was wobbling over the horizon, in what it would probably self-describe as a run.
"Oh God, why won't you wait for me?"
He was waiting, watching the silhouette turn lighter, revealing a pale man, sweating, looking on the verge of heart attack. His jeans looked wider than they were long, and he was holding them up. He got close.
"Why wasn't you waiting for me?"
He took out his gun and pointed it at the man who looked about 30 stone. Clean shaven, with not a hair on his head, with balls of perspiration dripping down something between a chin and neck.
"You got supplies in there?"
he said, panting, putting his hands on his knees, trying to catch his breath. "Are you alone?" he asked.
"Are you?"
"Look, man, I haven't got time for this."
"I need to know I'm safe."
He lowered his gun. "It's me and one more in there. Are you coming in or not?" He looked back at the horizon, then at the bunker.
"You better not try anything funny with me,"
he said, shuffling past him, holding onto his jeans, trying not to fall over. The man with the gun approached the iron door. He took one last look at the world. It hadn't happened yet, but he knew it would, and he said a tiny prayer for anyone who was on the outside when it did happen. The bunker was long and narrow, perfectly straight and in 3 compartments. First was the living quarters, 4 beds, singles, bunk beds on either side. The next compartment was the stores, where all the food rations were kept, stacks of tins and several thousand litres of bottled water, with a small round table in the centre for eating at. And beyond that was the toilet with a wash basin. All small, all rectangular.
"Who's she?"
said the fat man. "I don't know. I don't know either of you. So, I guess it's time for introductions. I think you both owe me that courtesy, since I've allowed you into my bunker." The fat man sat on one of the beds, and he put his head in his hands and began to cry. The man and woman looked at one another. "My name's Eloise, but just call me Louise. Everyone..."
"I'm Gerald." "Oh God, why just happened?"
"Hey, Gerald," said Eloise. "Let's just keep calm.
"Oh, shut up, you stupid cow! Don't you get it? We're dead." "Okay, I need to go to sleep,"
said Gerald, lifting his feet up onto the bed. He barely fit upon it, as he turned to face the wall. "Hey, get your arse up," said the man with the gun. Gerald didn't listen. He just kept his eyes closed. "I swear to God, if you don't sit up now, you're going back outside." Still, Gerald didn't move. But then he heard, right by his ear, and as he turned over, he was looking down the barrel of a pistol. He looked up into the eyes of the man holding it. "My name's Logan. Nice to meet you. Now sit your ass up." Slowly, Gerald did as he was told.
What do you even want from me?
"Look, we're going to be spending a lot of time together, Gerald. I think it would only be proper if we knew a little bit more about each other from the start. Is that okay with you?" "Logan," said Eloise. The two men looked at her. "Could you stop pointing the gun at him?" Logan looked at the gun, and he did as he was asked. "So, Gerald, why are you here?"
Why the hell do you think?
"Okay, what I mean is, what was you doing that led you to my bunker?" For the first time, Gerald appeared to be present in the room. He looked around and stopped when he looked at Eloise, and he just began to smile. "Gerald." "Yeah?" he said, just staring and smiling at Eloise, who folded her arms and looked at the ground. "Hey!" Gerald sighed. His smile vanished, and he looked back at the floor.
I was fishing on the lake.
"There. Are you happy now?" "Man, what is your problem?"
Well, what do you want?
"Common courtesy would be a nice thing," said Logan.
You bent?
"What?" Gerald began to laugh at himself.
Look, I was fishing. I saw it on my phone, and I knew of this place. I'd seen it before, and I knew there was no going back to the city. So I thought I'd take my chance on this place. And there you were. My prayers were answered. Happy now?"
Logan turned to Eloise. "You?" "I take myself to walks every Saturday afternoon, and I come here time to time. It's pretty. And the same as Gerald. I saw the news on my phone and the warning. I knew of this place, and I came here just running, hoping someone would be there, and miraculously, you were there. Thank God. Thank you." "You okay?" said Logan.
Yeah.
"It'll be happening now, won't it?" "Right now," said Eloise. At that moment, all of them looked up, taking a moment to imagine what was happening out there.
Mummy,
said Gerald, beginning to cry again. Eloise sat down on the bed. "Wow. I don't want to think about it. All those people." Logan sat down beside her, put his head in his hands.
Hey,
said Gerald. They both looked at him. He was scowling.
How much food you got?
We have enough. Several thousand litres of water. Enough to last us.
How much exactly?
Enough. Like I said. Let me show you guys around. Come, check out my crib, said Logan. Neither Eloise or Gerald understood the reference. They entered the next compartment, long and narrow again. On the right was hundreds of bottles of water. In the middle was a small round table with tiny stools. On the left was the food, all tinned, beans, corned beef, custard and more. Gerald immediately began to inspect it, getting close, occasionally picking up a tin and muttering to himself. Is that okay, Gerald? Said Logan.
That's it.
That's more than enough.
Where's the snacks?
Snacks?
Yeah, the crisps, chocolate, eclairs.
Eclairs? I hate to inform you, Gerald, but snacking is something of a leisure pursuit. It doesn't really work in the apocalypse, if you know what I mean. Logan watched Gerald's eyes turn shiny. He looked at the ground and tried to conceal his tears. As he walked past them and got back on the bed, which was presumably his now. Gerald, let me show you the toilet. It's just beyond the stores.
I need to sleep now. It's all too much.
Gerald, I'd really appreciate it if... Hey, said Eloise. Just leave him for now. It's been a crazy day, right? Logan showed Eloise. It was exactly that. A small room with a basin and white ceramic toilet, right at the back of the bunker. Just be mindful when using the water. It comes from a tanker. And it won't last forever. But we still do need to wash. That's going to be important too. Logan and Eloise headed back into the bedroom. They both sat on the same bed. In front of them, laid on his bed, was Gerald. His back was to them, and his jeans didn't cover his ass completely. His crack was out, revealing small curly black hairs. His white top looked filthy, again not big enough for him, revealing wads of fat that could never be described as love handles. Logan briefly thought of Homer Simpson. It was at that moment the snoring began. Wow. What? I wish I could fall to sleep like that, said Logan. Something of a light sleeper, hey? I guess, but that's ridiculous. I heard once that only kings and paupers sleep that well. Everyone in between has the problems. Well, which one's he? Said Logan. No comment, said Eloise, smiling. Thank you, by the way. How come? You didn't need to let us in, but you did. I'm not going to lie. I'm starting to wonder if I've done the right thing, he said, staring at Gerald. Are you scared? Asked Eloise. No, I'm not. I always knew this was coming. Yeah, hence you having the bunker, I guess. It's the rest of us, ignorant fools. I guess by simply having this place, you've rationalised the whole thing. Yeah, something like that. I didn't know what was coming exactly. To be honest, this EOT was probably the last of my probability charter. I had crunched the numbers, sort of. I'm no mathematician, but I'm quite good with probability. I mean, I could just feel man's time was about up, or at least a great challenge was coming. Just got way too comfortable out there. Like babies. What's an EOT? Asked Eloise. End of times. How long do you give it? I won't be opening that door for 3 months, and that'll be to check. Wow, that's a long time. Oh yeah, and it's gonna feel long. Yeah. I want you to know that you're safe here. Do you understand? He looked deep into her eyes, and then knew what he meant. Thank you. I appreciate that. Do we have contact with the outside? No. Nothing? Nope. It's not like the films. I mean, who would we contact? I don't know. Like a network of guys in bunkers? No, there isn't any. Turns out the English aren't that prepared for the end of the world. Maybe in America, maybe in Europe, but nah, there's not many bunkers like this in the UK. Not used by civilians anyway. I'm sure the military and the politicians are all shacked up somewhere. But no, we have no contact with them. And it was kind of by choice, said Logan. Why? It's the end of the world, right? Nobody knows we're here. Maybe that's best. That's what I always surmised anyway, said Logan. Just us three then, said Eloise. Logan looked at Gerald. Yeah, sure is. Eloise, can I ask how old you are? Sure, I'm 23. Wow. What? I just expected a little older. Oh, thanks. No, I don't mean it like that. It's just your mannerisms, and I don't feel like I'm talking to someone so young. Why? How old are you? I'm the big 40 in 2 days. Wow. What? I actually thought you were younger. Do I act it? No, you look it. Thanks. Are you from the city then? I am, unfortunately. It's not for you then. No, to be honest, I think for the last 8 years I've been living a lie. How come? It's just not me. But I've been living like it is. Always going out for drinks, nightclubs. Guys. Yeah, there's been a few, I can't lie. But I had something of an awakening the last 3 months. I think I lived that life because it's all I knew. But deep down, I don't think it's for me. In fact, I don't think it's for anybody. It's a state of mind people get in the city. Life is imposed upon them. And that lifestyle, it feels the easiest way to survive there, but it's unnatural. Like the city itself. That's why you've been out here then, said Logan. Yeah. I've discovered I need nature. We all do. I feel sorry for the ones that don't know that. Have you ever read Into the Wild? No? What's that? It's about a guy who discovered the same thing. There's a film too, said Logan. Huh, thank you. I'll be sure to watch it, said Eloise. You might be waiting a while though, said Logan, looking up at that precise moment as Eloise looked down. Do you think we brought this on ourselves? I think so. Quite possibly, in some way. Yeah. I've been reading the Bible recently, going to church on Sunday. I kind of wonder if it's what we deserve. I'm not sure if I believe in all that, said Logan. Sorry. Don't be. You're free to think whatever you want, but I just don't know if I can believe in a God. Can I ask, Logan, why did you buy a bunker? I didn't. I built it. Really? How? Just the same as anything's built. So, you don't believe in God, but judging by this place, you don't really believe in man either. I don't think man is inherently evil or bad. He's curious, maybe too curious. And that curiosity has led him to be the most successful species on the planet by far. But it's a double-edged sword. And he's been riding his luck for a long time. Maybe he looked a little too far. And I just planned for that eventuality. Oh my God, that's disgusting, said Eloise, looking at Gerald. All the lights were out in the bunker. Logan, Eloise and Gerald were all asleep. Logan slept in the bed above Eloise. They slept soundly until Eloise could hear something.
God, I don't want to die.
Gerald? Whispered Eloise.
Why me? Why me? Why do I have to do what they say? Oh God, I'm getting hot.
Gerald, is everything okay?
Who put them in charge anyway? I'm a free man. I'm a free man to do whatever I want.
Eloise slipped from out of her blanket and in her bare feet took 2 steps across the cold concrete ground towards Gerald's bed. She reached out and lay a hand on his shoulder. Gerald, it's okay. Suddenly he rolled out of the bed, colliding into Eloise and knocking her to the ground, standing on her, as he ran to the bunker door.
Get me out! I don't want to be here! I can't breathe, God damn it, get me out!
He began to slam his fists on the iron bunker door. Then he turned to the keypad and started to thumb at the numbers in the darkness.
I'm going now. It was good to meet you guys, but I've missed my train, you see. My mum needs me. I need to feed the cat. Get me out.
Logan jumped off his top bunk. Gerald, I need you to calm down. Right now.
You. Get me out. Now. I'm going.
Gerald, seriously. You need to calm yourself down.
I'm not a prisoner. Get me out.
The only way you're getting out there is as a dead man. Gerald turned from the door towards Logan and took 2 long strides towards him. Then he noticed Logan draw his gun. Gerald froze. What was you going to do then? Said Logan. Gerald held up his hands and stared at the gun and licked his lips. Hey, answer me, said Logan as Gerald walked past him. Logan kept the gun pointed at his head as Gerald walked past, seemingly without a care in the world, and got back in his bed and turned to face the wall. That's when Logan noticed Eloise on the floor in the dim light of the room. Louise, are you okay? No, my ankle, I think it's sprained. How? Said Logan, kneeling beside her, touching it, feeling the swelling already. He stood on me as he went towards the door. Logan looked up at him, in his bed. Hey, are you for real? Like, do you even care? Logan got up and headed to the light switch, illuminating the room.
Hey, turn that light switch off now. Turn it off. Turn
Logan
it off.
stood over Gerald's bed,
Turn it off.
listening to his
Turn it
cries,
off.
and raised
Turn
his
it off.
fist,
Turn
then
it
felt
off.
Eloise touch his
Turn
ankle.
it off.
Don't, she said, looking up at him. Logan sighed, knelt down and said, Do you mind? Putting his arm under her legs, preparing to pick her up. Go for it, said Eloise. Logan picked her up, cradling her. It was easy. He was strong. She was light. He lowered her onto the bed and inspected her foot. Does it hurt? Asked Logan. Yeah, it's starting to. I don't have anything frozen to reduce the swelling, but I do have some painkillers.
Turn it off.
Thank you.
Turn it
As
off.
Logan returned from the first aid
Turn it
box in
off.
the stores, with
Turn it off.
painkillers and 3 bottles of
Turn it
water
off.
for each person,
Turn it off.
Gerald's cries had not stopped.
Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off.
But when Eloise took the painkillers with the water and Logan switched off the light, they did stop immediately. In the darkness, Logan stood centre of the room, staring at Gerald. I don't actually believe what I'm looking at. Hey, said Eloise. Let's just try get some sleep, yeah? Logan climbed on his bed above Eloise, and as his head hit the pillow and his body began to ease, thinking, what a day, that's when he heard. As Logan opened his eyes, he could immediately tell he hadn't slept well, but he knew when he was up, and his mind quickly turned to black coffee. And it was then he noticed a little light spilling into the room. He sat up, his feet dangling from the bed, his head turning towards the light. It was coming from the stores. The door was slightly ajar, and Gerald wasn't in his bed. Logan reached for the gun, wedged between the mattress and wall, and jumped down onto the floor with his naked feet. Only in his underwear, he approached the door. As he opened it, there he saw Gerald, sat upon the tiny table. Empty tins of food were in front of him, at least 20. Spilled custard, corned beef, peas, mixed veg, tuna and chocolate. Gerald didn't look up though. He was wheezing a little. And though he knew he'd been caught in the act, he continued. Logan watched aghast, listening to the noises, almost repulsed by them, and the visual sight of someone eating needlessly, diminishing their lifeline. Then Gerald stopped, looked up, with his eyes turning wide.
Oh, I need to go. I need to go big time.
As he quizzically looked around the room.
Where's the toilet? Where's the toilet?
Behind you, through that door.
Ugh, ugh, good boy. Ugh.
Logan watched him waddle, barely holding up his jeans with one hand, walking away to the toilet and closing the door. Logan? Came Eloise's voice from behind him. He looked back, sitting on the edge of her bed, her head peering into the storeroom at the numerous tins of spilled food on the table. You want a coffee? Said Logan, nonchalantly. Logan had cleaned up the mess. The whole time Gerald had been on the toilet, and as the kettle boiled and Logan prepared their cereals with the powdered milk, and Eloise sitting upon the table, they listened to the moans and groans of Gerald. That varied greatly. He'd been in there more than 10 minutes. What are you going to do? Asked Eloise. I haven't fully decided. Can you lock this room? Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, but it's kind of beyond the point, though. I know what you mean. Have you ever seen anything like it? I'm lost for words. Eloise shook her head as they listened to the toilet door open.
Oh boy. Ugh, that was a nasty one.
Gerald walked into the storeroom smiling and looked down at Eloise and Logan, who could barely bear to look at him.
Damn. If that's all I was eating for breakfast, I'd be mad too. Oh, back to bed for me.
As he walked into the bedroom, Eloise looked up towards the toilet. The door was open. Ugh, did he flush that? Logan stood up.
You fucking... Enough! What you do? What you do?
You... Gerald sat on the edge of the bed, holding his head.
Why'd you do that?
Logan gave Gerald a right hook to the jaw. The big man fell silent, and he hit the floor at the same time. As he regained consciousness a few seconds later, he instantly began to crawl towards the door.
No, Mummy, they're bullying me, Mummy. Why?
As he began to bang his fists upon the iron door, Logan put the pistol to the back of his head, and Gerald fell completely silent. You ever do that again, you will be leaving, but you won't be alive.
For God's sake, I only took a dump.
The food, you idiot!
What did I do wrong?
You're a pig. A disgusting pig. It's all over the floor. It's rations. Do you even know what that means? You fat Logan could feel his finger on the trigger. He was applying pressure, close to a game ender, and memories from a haunted past reared their ugly head, and he lowered the gun. He didn't want to go back there. The therapy and the sleepless nights. You only go in there with my permission. Do you understand? Gerald was sweating, and he'd gone light-headed. Do you understand? Repeated Logan.
Just leave me alone, you bully.
Logan turned around. There was Eloise, stood in the doorway. She was leaning on the wall, her injured leg slightly raised, sweating. As Logan approached, he stood beside her and whispered, He's not sustainable. He walked into the stores and sat at the table. The silence of the bunker was suffocating, and only he had permission to break it. Oh, great. My coffee's gone cold. Eloise was having nightmares. Not the kind bestowed by the mind as the body sleeps. The kind we would do to ourselves when one cannot sleep. Self-harm of the mind. She was thinking of family. Her family. In the dead of night. At least she thought it was night. And she thought about her family. How they were certainly no longer alive. She thought about their last moments, doing it to herself. Creating her own pain. Imagining them frightened when it happened. Were any of them together? Holding one another? Any combination, it didn't matter. Brother, mother, mother, father, father, brother. She just hoped that they were in each other's embrace. That's when she felt fingers on the back of her head, running through her hair. Shh. There. All she could see was the glint of his eye, from the dim safety light, casting the room in the faintest blue light. It was Gerald, sat on the floor beside her bed, his head inches from hers. She could feel his breath. You don't have to be frightened. I'm here, lovely. His hand began to move down her body, and she couldn't explain why, but she couldn't move. There. I can protect you. Frozen stiff, she began to cry in silence. Above the blanket, Gerald's hand rested between her legs. He could feel the tension. Relax. Eloise closed her eyes. She wanted to scream, but she couldn't. She could feel her soul tearing at her insides, trying to break free from that body, a body that betrayed her, that now she hated. It wouldn't move. Okay, said Gerald, moving his hand away towards her face, rubbing her cheek with one of his fingers. He's a bully, isn't he? But we've got each other, lovely. With great effort, Gerald lumbered up. He put his head into her neck and began to sniff hard. Then kissed her neck. Good night, lovely. As Gerald got back into bed, on his side, facing the wall, finally, Eloise's body began to relax, and she began to cry. Louise, said Logan. What's the matter? Nothing. I just had some nightmares. I understand. Sorry. No, it's fine. When Eloise woke, she felt tired. She knew she had barely slept at all. The first thing she noticed was the store light on. The second, Gerald wasn't in his bed. Logan, she whispered. Nothing. Logan, she said a little louder. It was then she could hear muttering and the sound of opening tins. Tentatively, she got out of her bed, moving not to hurt her ankle. And she saw Logan wasn't in the bed above her. She limped towards the store's door. In there was Gerald. He was sat at the tiny table. Food was everywhere. On him, the table, the floor. Slowly he looked up at Eloise, and he began to laugh. Then suddenly he put his hand over his mouth. Then his finger, gesturing at Eloise. He then lumbered upwards, wiping his hands on himself, and walked towards Eloise. He then stopped in front of her, leaned in close, with his lips almost touching her ear. Don't forget what I told you last night, He then walked back into the bedroom, got on his bed, on his side, facing the wall. Eloise limped into the stalls and sat down, not wanting to touch the table and careful of where she put her foot, not wanting to get tuna or corned beef between her toes. Logan opened the toilet door. He'd washed well, his top was off, in his blue jeans, with his damp hair slicked back. He looked down at Eloise, who looked up. Somehow, she looked shameful. She watched Logan begin to bite his lips as he examined the scene, and without a word, he marched forward towards the bedroom when he felt Eloise take his hand. They was both looking in opposite directions, but there was something in the touch that made them both pause, and they held each other's hands more tightly. Eloise drew his in close, to her chest. With her arm, she held onto his arm. "What's the point?" she said, very still. "He needs to learn," said Logan. "We should just kill him," said Eloise. Logan looked at Eloise, but she wouldn't look at him. He sat on the small chair beside her, and she never let go of his hand. "He isn't sustainable. He's going to be the death of us." Logan looked into her eyes that finally met his. He thought about Afghanistan, all those years ago, the sleepless nights, the years of therapy. He didn't want to go back there. But her eyes, they made a more convincing argument than any words from her mouth ever could. In them he could see fear and desperation. A life worthy. A life worth saving. Logan put his head between his legs. The tears came, but he didn't want her to see him crying. He reached for the pistol in the back of his jeans, stood up and headed to the bedroom, and closed the door. Eloise sat in silence and closed her eyes. I don't want to see it. "Give me 5 minutes," said Logan. Oh, God. What the? My God. It never happened. What have I done? Then appeared Eloise at the iron door, shielding her eyes from the natural light, the first she had seen in days. Her eyes never saw the gun, as they were still adjusting to the light.